Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, this is Colby from the Colby Cast, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance.
We are a spark that'll light the fire that'll bring the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the 204th episode of Star Wars Reactions. Welcome. We are going to have a great day, great discussion, and as we continue our reviews, our reactions to Skeleton Crew. So let's get some introductions out of the way. My name is Aaron Harris. I'm one of your hosts here, and joining me, this dude is this is the Neel to my whim, the David Motters. David, what's up, brother?
Hey man, just ready to record. Always ready to record, ready to react, and you know, I was just thinking we had Jeff McGee on with us from Star Wars Splash Page covering the first two episodes, and I feel very fortunate that we've been able to get our good friend from Down Under for the next two episodes. So I'm so thankful that we have our special guest back.
Absolutely. We got to our good friend, Star Wars friend from the land down under, Christina Stevenson, joining us again. Welcome back, Christina.
Thanks so much for having me back, guys. It's wonderful to be back. I always love talking about Star Wars with the both of you.
Oh. Well, I missed talking Star Wars with you last week, so I definitely was like, we got to do this again because I got to talk Star Wars with Christina. So glad it worked out so we could do this. And what a better episode to confab about than the latest episode of Skeleton Crew, entitled "Can't Say I Remember No At Attin." That was my poor man's Nick Frost. But fabulous episode released not September, Carabast, December 17th, 2024. Directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneider, that guy. Written by Christopher Ford and John Watts. This episode, the Onyx Cinder arrives at a world that looks a lot like At Attin, but it has been battered by conflict between warring clans. This is At Achrann, where warfare is constant and the children are trained to be soldiers. Neel, Wim, Fern, and KB are challenged by a warlord named General Strix to prove their strength in exchange for access to star maps that may help them find their way home. With the help of Strix's daughter, Hannah, our heroes make their way to a hidden tower where SM-33 begins to experience memories from an unknown chapter of his past. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Of course, that synopsis, of course, straight from the episode guide on StarWars.com. So give credit where credit is due always. So let's jump into this. Christina, you're our guest. We're going to let you go first. What were your initial reactions to Can't Say I Remember No At Attin?
I really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying every single episode of this show, so I probably sound a little bit like a broken record, but I love it. It's really engaging, and you're drawn into the story. You're interested in what's happening. The kids are just so heartwarming and engaging, and I really am enjoying each episode, getting to know all of them just that little bit better. But I really like the further mysteries that this episode adds onto all of the mysteries that we were speaking about last week, David, that the last episode brought up. Now we're getting even more mysteries on top of it. But what I really like about the way the story is unfolding is that even though we're getting sort of mystery on top of mystery, it doesn't feel like these are unanswerable. It feels like we are leading somewhere. We're going to get an answer to everything that's going on. So I'm really, really enjoying the ride.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what about you, David? What were your initial reactions?
Yeah, this one really, well, I've said this on many previous recordings. I think like Christina, sometimes, I know I'm a broken record, but the second viewing really helped me. It really helped me. Part of that was because, again, I've said this before, I watch it once without the subtitles and once with them. And I watched it first without subtitles, and there was a lot I did not pick up on. Truly, Troik and Hattan, the two different clans that are battling, all the different At worlds that they list off at the end. I last night watching it with subtitles was able to write all those down, so I knew what they were talking about. Like Christina said, I'm really, still enjoying the children. We got to know more about Neel here. We even got some more glimpses into the personality of Fern, and we can talk about that as we move towards the end of the episode. But I think, again, this is my broken record. Christina got me going on this. I've said this many a time before. Maybe Christina remembers me saying this. I know you do, Aaron, is I still wish, I wish I didn't know about the volume, because in this one, unlike the previous two episodes where they're on Port Borgo, you could, it's all outer space. You can see how much money they spent on the special effects. They look incredible. Christina and I talked about it last week, the brig being down underneath and just all the ships out there. But what gets me is like when they're walking towards the Fallen Sanctum, which we know is the supervisor's tower on At Attin, that long, tall spire, you see them walking, and I'm like, yeah, they're right in front of the volume. And I'm like, ugh. And I know it's there, and I see it, and I wish my eyes didn't see it. But all that to say that I still, really enjoying these characters, and I'm curious, just like Christina said, in terms of mysteries, how much more time we're going to spend here next episode. Obviously, where it ended, we're still on At Achrann, and we'll see if we go to any of the other At planets. So overall, enjoyed it. Second viewing. I'm anticipating watching a third time. I did not do this with Acolyte, but these I'm able to watch multiple times and really enjoy it. And I expect to enjoy this even more after a third viewing. How about you, buddy?
Very good. Very good. I am thoroughly enjoying this series. This has been quite an adventure, quite fun. And I loved, to sound like the broken record and echo off you guys, I've loved every episode so far. And I loved this episode. This was a fun episode. It was interesting to see the contrast between At Attin and that we saw in the first couple episodes to At Achrann. This was, and see how the different these planets, how similar but how different these planets are, was just a journey in and of itself. And love seeing the characters grow and see the character development in this. We see Fern struggling with her role as captain. We see Wim stepping up and supporting her. But then, of course, we see Neel. He's I kind of relate these to the relate him to the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. He found himself some courage, and in this episode, and we got to see that growth, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, and then of course, man, SM-33. I love this droid. I mean, he is just so. He's becoming a very complex droid. And I knew at some point his old captain was going to come into this, and it has, and it just made for a intense final few moments to the episode. So absolutely phenomenal, absolutely great. So let's go ahead and jump into some talking points here. Like I said, we do have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences when it comes to At Attin and At Achrann. Very, very unique. You see a lot of, and you could tell they repurposed a lot of the sets from At Attin and just redressed them to show the destruction and the basically the rundownness of this planet. So what and of course that in and of itself just kind of gets your mind going as why do we have these almost identical setups on two different worlds that didn't know about each other? Makes you wonder what kind of wacky experiment was going on. But what were your reactions? And I'll throw this out to both of you when we arrived and started seeing the destruction of At Achrann.
Yeah. Do you mind if I go first?
Please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's even from before they even land on the planet, you kind of get a little glimpse of maybe this is not at Attin and maybe it's not quite right, because there's those sort of like broken down satellites that they fly past. And to me, it almost looks like maybe that planet also used to have like a barrier, and maybe the satellites were responsible for like keeping the barrier, because it looked like there were more than one. And if you like remember back to the first episode, there was when they look up at the night sky and they can see the barrier, it almost looked like there was little sort of grid-like pattern with little things in the sky. So I feel like, maybe that's the first sign when they're sort of like flying into the atmosphere that it looks similar, but it's not going to be, because those satellites aren't functioning to form the barrier properly. And then, they land, and I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, the first thing that the feels that I was getting from when they first landed on the planet and they were walking up to the broken down playground, I was just getting very much Terminator vibes, Terminator 2.
Yes. Yes.
So for me, and actually the whole episode, all the way up to the end with SM-33 changing, I just felt very sort of like dystopian, post-apocalyptic, Terminator vibes. It's very intriguing. You're kind of drawn into that mystery immediately when they walk into the house that looked a lot like Fern's house, with the tree and that sort of circular staircase. And there was even a mural on the wall in the same place as in Fern's house, but I just couldn't make any of it out. I didn't have time to go back and watch it and freeze frame it. But so it'd be interesting to know if it's the same sort of mural, and how similar were all of these different at-worlds, and is it a little bit like Fallout, where, the different vaults have different experiments going on? So is each different planet had some different thing that's led to where they are today, or were they all the same? And something's happened to the planets that has then led them to become like this. So again, the mysteries.
Yes.
Yeah. So many mysteries. David, how about you, brother?
Yeah, I really liked Christina brought in T2, Terminator 2. This conversation has got me thinking about is, like, we can talk about this being a children's show, but we can go super, super deep here. Now, there's a couple reasons why. Is I'm just trying to bring all my thoughts together, because I just want to get them all out, and they're all trying to crowd their way out of my mouth right now. But like, when you look at, I wrote down the names because I had the subtitles. So there's At Attin, At A2, At Achrann, At Aricia, At Achrann, and At Achrann, right? So that's 6. And as Christina was just mentioning, something I was wondering is there, what did you say, Aaron, too? Some kind of crazy experiment going on. You wonder if, even like what Kim was talking about last time, when she said the planets were destroyed, I was thinking Alderaan. So I'm like, well, wait, how can you go to any of these? I thought they're all gone. And like At Attin's, and I'm like, oh, wait, they're just kind of like, they look like Christina said, post-apocalyptic, destroyed that way, in terms of the planet's still there, but it's just all of them are a mess. And so then it got my brain whirling in terms of, a couple things. One, James Mangold announced movie Dawn of the Jedi, right? Will we see that? And then maybe after that movie, is it the formation of these Jewels of the Republic, right? Which were, Kim talked about. Is that something? But then who's behind this? I think Christina and I talked last week about the Jim Carrey movie called The Truman Show. And, is there someone controlling all this from the outside? I'll bring in one more angle on this, and that's why I'm trying to get all this out in one time. Is,
do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
We're at a point in the High Republic literature where, as we move into January, February, March, the spring, we're going to really move towards the final run here, ending with Charles Soule's novel in spring, summer. And so the reason I bring that up is because, and I don't know, spoilers here if people haven't read this, but this has all been coming out in the comics and some of the most recent books from the High Republic. I don't know how many people are diving into them, but they're describing a group of people who I think discovered the Echo Stones. And so they've hidden them around the galaxy. But I'm just bringing this up, and I won't even name the group that George Mann and some of the authors have brought up. So if people want to read it, they can read it for themselves. But Christina got me thinking about this, and you too, Aaron, about, is there a group like we're starting to be revealed here in the High Republic behind all these planets? And I almost feel like when Christina had mentioned like the post-apocalyptic, I wonder, well, at Achrann, they were running an experiment there, and because the people didn't do exactly what they wanted, a great work there, they let them fall into anarchy and war, and then I wonder on the other ones, at A2, at Arisia, at Erevan, and so on, if there's these people up above, or something, allow, try to do an experiment, they don't do it. And you almost wonder, is At Attin the last one trying to do this great work, right? We see Fern's mom talking about it. And if you don't get it right, At Attin's next, But anyways, there's just a lot of thoughts. It's consistent with what, Christina and I talked last week about these mysteries, and it gets you thinking. And I'm so curious to see what, the story is behind these planets.
Yeah, it got me curious what's going on with these planets, because there's so much that we've seen so far that feels so artificial. When they were discussing in the first episode, taking the test so they know what job they're going to have growing up, their job selection test. Then of course nobody leaves the planet. There's the barrier around it. And I'm glad you pointed out those satellites, Christina, because I saw that and it got me going back to, I don't know if y'all remember that episode of the Clone Wars where Anakin crashes on this planet. This kid is basically got a whole bunch of reprogrammed battle droids. But when they try to leave, this big laser grid appears around the planet and nobody can leave. It's a trap. It's a trap. And it kind of gave me that barrier kind of gives me that same feel, especially seeing all those satellites. It'll allow you to slip in, like we saw the Onyx, I just blanked. The Onyx Sender crashed on At Attin. It's there. It's there on At Attin. It came through the barrier just fine, but then it couldn't leave, obviously. So it almost looks like it may have tried to leave and got knocked back into the planet. So it's one of those, you can come in, but you can never leave. It's its own Hotel California. there's an Eagles reference for y'all out there listening.
I don't know. I always feel like it's the other way around because they didn't have any difficulties leaving the planet on the Onyx Cinder. They so maybe it's not so much to stop people leaving, but to stop them from coming in. So maybe that's why it crashed.
Could be. Very good. Yeah, that it could be, because if it was a part of this mining group, because they were talking about having all these resources, hidden planets, it could be something where they build their own ships and send them away, and they never come back.
That's it.
And nobody can come visit, so they have their own world. That's probably more correct. So yeah, I retract my statement and go with Christina's. So, but yeah, I'm loving, especially once we see the difference between the two planets. Obviously the satellite networks there. It's obviously not working on Carabast.
This is going to be a Carabast. All these at planets. I will help you out, Aaron.
At 2.
At Achrann?
At Achrann. We'll call them at 1 and at 2. Probably for my own sanity, but no, at Achrann. At Achrann. At Achrann.
That's it.
Not Akron, Ohio, at Achrann. Anywho, but seeing the similarities between the two, it's got to be, and I got to look at these kids for a minute, because these are kids we're dealing with. These are our heroes, our kids. To be somewhere that looks almost identical to where they're from, walking through homes that look like their homes, seeing the supervisor tower that looks like the one at Attin, but seeing everything demolished and destroyed, that's got to have an impact on their minds and on their I mean, if I walked into a place, well, look at me, I walk into my home every day and it's half destroyed from the hurricane, and I know the toll that takes on me every single day. But I see the impact it has on my kids, but they could still leave. They go to school. They have their grandparents' house and their aunt and uncle's houses, all intact. Everything's perfectly normal. Just our house is a little jacked up. But to see these kids be on a planet that everything is almost exactly like their home, and everything is destroyed, has to mess with their minds a little bit. Don't you think, David?
Yeah. I was thinking about, I've heard people talk about this in Hollywood, right? Do you take ordinary people and put them in extraordinary situations? That's what we have here, right? We got Neel, KB, Fern, Wim. And when you put them in the situation that you described, that allows them to become heroes, Side note, we just got the Superman trailer, and have you guys seen it?
So
good. Yeah.
So good.
Really good.
So you're sitting there asking, okay, instead of ordinary people in an extraordinary situation, you have an extraordinary being being put into a more normal situation where, he's bleeding, and you first are, well, wait, why is Superman bleeding out of the mouth, right? So that's what a buddy of mine talks about that's really what these scripts do. And so when you put the crew there, and that's the same thing, and I was going to talk about this with you guys, at first I was a little confused with the episode, like, wait, why is this guy putting the kids out there in a war zone? And then I realized, well, maybe to a certain degree, consistent with being on a planet that's kind of shaking you at your core, like, this is really freaking us out. Now we're in a war, and of course we see Fern in tears after it. So we're putting them into extraordinary situations. But yeah, just if we take away that Hollywood spin of normal people in extraordinary situations, or extraordinary men and women entities in ordinary circumstances, if we go down to a just pure psychological, this would be really freaky for kids, right? Who don't have fully developed frontal lobes. But it's I was taking a little bit more of the Hollywood approach than more psychological. But either way, it does push our heroes forward.
Yeah, definitely does. So let's talk a little bit about At Achrann, because we got the two factions per se there on At Achrann. We have the Troik, as well as the oh my gosh, I just blanked on their name. Yes, that's it. And we have them, of course, locked in Mortal Kombat, and kids are being trained and everything. So we have some very unique, interesting things going on here that these kids are just thrown into the mix on. Now, David, I want to hit you because I know you put some interesting things in the show notes here about your thoughts on that. So talk to us about the Troik and the Hattan.
Yeah, and Christina, we can see what you think. I put a little note here. It when you see again this clan warfare, I very much thought about the Middle East, because when Neel is talking to Hayna, I believe I'm saying her name properly, that Hayna, Hayna, you can see him saying, why do you keep fighting? And when you hear her explain it, I'm just thinking about the Jews and the Arabs. Well, they kill us, we kill them, we kill them. And he's like, well, why don't you just have peace? I love Neel's approach here. I would just say, I'm sorry, and be done with it, and but I again, children's show, you can think about much deeper issues. I thought about that in my second viewing. Just warfare. In this case, it's over, EOPs, I guess, to a certain extent. But the other thing that I think about is just this position that the children are put in. And I'd mentioned a minute ago, the whole idea of putting our heroes in extraordinary situations. I also think, towards the end, and I know, Christina, you saw this, and Aaron, you get this moment where Wim and Fern get to talk to each other, and they've kind of been at odds and both want to be the captain and so on. But I really like how Wim is very supportive of her, and she's really struggling, and he can see that. And so then in a lot of these situations that we've seen it in other movies, it gives an opportunity to develop friendships through these hardships and through this war. Even as the four were going out, we see a friendship. Hayna says, well, it's easier when you have a friend with you, right? And so you see a friendship developing between them and Hayna, as well as among the four of them. So I think that's where the war situation is, what it's allowing to have happen in this story. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Any thoughts, Christina?
I also think that because it's that sort of juxtaposition for the kids of this place is just like our home, but it's also so completely different. And the experiences of the children growing up in this different society is so dramatic. And I feel like the one that struggled the most with that and found it the hardest to come to terms with was Neel, because he, is talking to a young child similar age to him who is a warrior and who's had to fight for food and resources and to just stay alive. Whereas the most he's had to fight about is something with his brother. So they're more sort of our experience. And exactly as you say, David, with respect to, it does sort of make you think about the Middle East and our kind of sort of view from far away is that why can't they just all get along? And it's the same for these two warring clans, but they've been put at odds because of, and I don't think it's so much as ideological differences, but more just probably family and struggle for resources, and you're maybe more of that kind of Walking Dead, post-apocalyptic, you know, fight and struggle for resources in a world that's dying kind of vibe, rather than anything more ideological, but still has that sort of same effect of, you know, the kids need to grow up too early. They need to become adults, you know, and that's what the father, Strix, had said, you know, we treat our kids as adults because they have to survive and they have to contribute. And whereas the kids are just like us, they're used to having a proper childhood, you know? And so I think it's that juxtaposition between those two elements that's really striking. And I think that's what certainly Neel has the most difficulties with.
Oh, well said. Well said. You know, I have a unique perspective too, because I have, you know, being the son of my parents. If y'all don't know out there, my parents are missionaries. So I grew up in South America. So I spent about 10 years overseas, 10, 12 years living in South America, and going from here in the United States with everything as it is, and going down there, you talk about some culture shock. You know, you drive down the street here in the United States, you'll drive down the street and you'll see just rows of houses, and you don't see anything reflective of poverty or anything like that. You don't see shacks or tents on the street. Well, some parts of the country you do now, but not most places. Whereas, you know, you go down where I grew up in Uruguay. I mean, we'd go to we'd be driving through downtown, and there'd be a hill just in the middle of downtown that has nothing but, you know, cardboard shacks and little wooden shacks, tents and stuff, because that's just what it does. So I know how that impacted me at such a young age. I can imagine just being I can somewhat relate to what those kids are going through, especially with Neel, because Neel, we see a lot of this. To me, this was a little bit more of a Neel-centric episode.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it was. Because we see a lot of his personality explored through this, with his dealings with Hattan, and of course his finding his backbone and standing up to SM33 as he's trying to tear him apart, or whatever, and everything. So we see him grow. He goes from being scared and anxious and terrified of everything to throwing a rock at SM33's head and telling him to leave him alone at the end. And we see his touching moments with Hattan. It was such a great build of his character that that truly is what made this episode so awesome, was seeing the growth of Neel. And I can understand why he's becoming quickly a fan favorite. Thoughts on Neel? Let's throw that out there. Talk to me about y'all's thoughts and reactions to Neel. Christina, I'm going to throw it to you first.
I love Neel in this episode. He's just so sweet. He's like truly like the best of us and what we should all aspire to be, because he doesn't want to be a warrior. He doesn't want to fight. And he made that very clear. And all of the others are off playing with the weapons, and he's there talking with Hattan about how he's not interested, and you see him put the weapon down. And through it all, I love how he remains true to himself at his core, and that, Hattan spoke of it as a weakness, whereas actually I think the whole point of it was that it's his true strength. Mm-hmm. It's his, emotional strength, his strength of character, to know that he's strong and brave and loyal. But to be those things doesn't mean that you have to be a warrior. It doesn't mean that you have to fight. And so I really like how they really highlighted that in this episode, that fighting and being a warrior isn't the only way to be brave and to be strong.
Mm-hmm. Very good. David?
Yeah. I do agree that, and I believe the actor who plays Neel said that this episode 4 was more the Neel-centric episode. I'm curious if we're going to kind of have that with the other characters as well. Got a little bit of Fern as well, and Wim, but maybe they'll each get a little bit more. But, I look, over the many years that Aaron and I have done this podcast, and I've done psychology corners and psychology factoids or mini psychology corners, a very common subject has been the issue of anxiety. And, Neel talks about being scared. He's anxious. Even, I think, as he walks out there with them, again, it's quite interesting to see him and the kids going out and the adults are standing in the back. He says, quote, "I'm terrified," and you mentioned it, Aaron. You see it come almost full circle where he's brave and he helps his friends. I know then he faints, right? And the episode ends, but growth, right? We're saying growth. And so anxiety is a big thing for so many people. And can we ultimately, deal with it? And so again, very common subject. People can go back, listen to a lot of my commentary on it, but anxiety is so ubiquitous around the world and in many different forms. And so it's fun to see a character like Neel deal with it, and hopefully he'll come to and continue to be more brave.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say, there's nothing I can add to what y'all said, because y'all said it perfectly. But I do just want to go out here and say, you know what, I got to give credit to Robert Timothy Smith, who's the actor performing Neel, and he is going through, out of everybody in that cast, he is honestly probably doing the most work, because not only is he Neel, but he's inside that suit. And it's a whole team that makes that happen. If you go through the information there and at StarWars.com, you find out that it's not just Robert Timothy Smith. It's a whole team that includes a combination of facial motion capture, special effects, of course, the suit performer, in the costume, but also that head is basically a giant animatronic puppet. Mm-hmm. So there's somebody controlling the head, the eyes, the movement of the ears, the movement of the eyes, movement of the trunk. All of that's going on in servos and everything in the head. So kudos to the team bringing this character to life, especially with the effect that he's having on the people watching. Because if you go out there and you surf social media, you see everybody loves Neel.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, I think they call it Neel Nation.
Neel Nation, yes, they do. Everybody's a part of the Neel Nation. I will admit, I'm a Neel Nationer.
I really like
I love Neel.
I really like even the little things that they do with Neel. Like there was the bit right at the beginning when they first meet Hayna and they go and hide in the, old dilapidated broken down bus. He's like, hiding behind one of the windows and even his little trunk is trembling. It's like so cute and so sad at the same time. But then, I think it sort of goes to like what you both were saying about how by the end of the episode, he's not there hiding with a trembling trunk. He's standing up to save his friends.
Exactly. Well said. So, one other thing I want to hit on, as we are discussing our reactions to this episode is, of course, we can't end this without going through the events of the tower, the sanctum per se, the Fallen Sanctum, which of course is the supervisor tower, and that's where we find out that in the tower there are these pillars that have all the planet names and coordinates. And then they find At Attin, and it's gone. It's been demolished. It's been literally ripped out of the wall. And you could see the scarring from where it used to be. And then, of course, that's when things happen. And we find out that SM-33 had been there before with his old captain. Then, of course, he goes right back to the ain't never no At Attin before. Redundant, broken record there. And then, of course, after a emotional moment between Fern and Wim, she realizes he's a droid. He's probably been ordered not to talk about it. That's why he keeps repeating that statement every time somebody says At Attin. And so she goes running back and says, remember, I'm your captain. Do a memory override. Tell me about At Attin. And that's when, it all hit the fan at that point. He tells the story of how him and his captain came there, and his captain slaughtered his crew, anybody that saw the coordinates at Attin, and then ordered SM-33 to destroy the coordinates and block all memories of At Attin. And if anybody tries to come around, tear them apart, rip them limb from limb, and just completely, gut it. And of course, things get out of hand at that point, and SM turns on everybody and goes after Fern and Wim and KB. And then, of course, that's where we were talking about a few moments ago, where Neel stepped up, threw a rock, and stood up to SM-33. And between SM-33 and somebody we have not talked about yet, Nawood, they disable SM-33, who falls on top of Neel, and Neel everybody's all excited. You saved us. I don't know if y'all caught that too, when the droid falls on top, and Neel's laying there, and they all run up. All the kids run up to Neel. You saved us. You saved it. That pure look on Jod's face of just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm the one that turned him off.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like, okay, whatever. Then of course he passes out.
It is like the third time Jod has saved them. Like he rescued them from, helped them escape Borgo. He got them away from the Troik.
Yep.
And then now he saved them from the droid as well.
Exactly.
It's not enough.
Will this man ever get credit for what he does? but yeah,
that is
go
good.
ahead, Dave.
No, that's good. I love it. She said time after time, it's almost like the Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect,
No respect, I tell you, no respect.
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and of course this is the same character at the beginning of the episode. They're like, keep him on the ship, make sure he doesn't leave. And SM30's like, 3's going like, all right, babysitter mode, come here, baby, come on the ship, let's go, baby.
Terrifying.
I'm like, come on. Like, if I was John, I'd have been scared to go on the ship. He's treating me like a baby. What's he going to do? If I go get up there and he's going to try to change a diaper or something? I would have been a little hesitant to go back on that ship at that point, but.
Yeah, we haven't really spoken much about Jod and SM33 and their interactions. I really liked how, I just love the details that they always add in. So when Jod and SM33 were on the ship and Jod's starting to realize, hang on a minute, SM33 knows where we are. He's going to have some memories that I need to get onto here. And he's asking him about it. And there's like smoke coming out of his head.
Yes. Yes. That was awesome too.
Yeah, there's just so many cute little details that if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't really notice. It's great. Love it.
Exactly. So there's one more thing I just want to throw out there before as we're wrapping up our discussion here of can't say I remember no At Attin. Be so glad when this episode's over. I'll stop talking like that. I saw a video online, and we've been talking about the last couple episodes about how popular this show is right now. A lot of people are out there saying this is the win that Kathleen Kennedy needed. This is incredible. Everybody is loving this show, and everybody's got their theory as to why, what's making it appeal. It's got the Amblin feel to it. It's got that, it's just a warm, fun-loving series. There's a whole bunch of theories out there, but there's one that I saw a couple days ago that just really resonated with me. And when I sat there, thought about it, and looked back at these first several episodes, I was like, that's it. That makes a lot of sense. Is, as we grew up watching Star Wars, we've all grown up watching Star Wars. We always played Star Wars. We always had these dreams of, one day, gosh, I wish I could be pulled into the action and be a part of that world. What happens in this series? We have kids at school, at home. They're playing with action figures. They're pretending to be Jedi, and they're just going about their everyday lives that have nothing to do with any of it. Next thing you know, they're ripped from their reality and thrown into the world of Star Wars. Yeah. They're living what we always envisioned in our heads. Mm-hmm. And I think that's when I heard that, I'm like, man, that makes a lot of sense. That's why I'm loving this. I'm seeing myself in these kids. I just want to throw that out there, get y'all's thoughts on that theory. Have y'all heard that, or what are your thoughts there?
No, I hadn't heard of that, but I agree. I think it's really true because, when you were kids and you were playing make-believe and you're somehow trying to find some way you could have your own story in the Star Wars universe, it's true. They are us, and they are doing what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Yeah. Any thoughts, David?
Yeah, and I was trying to think if Christina and I were touching on this last week about, I did talk about, yes, I read a quote from Din Skysinger. Din is, 105, right? Din is very deep thinker. He's read like a lot of Tolkien stuff, and he's big on myth and Star Wars. And he was talking about this series. In essence, right, Christina, we talked about how
That's right.
Right, similar to Star Wars, coming at a time when things are kind of dark and down.
That's right, yeah.
Right, and I think that's part of it too, right? So not only the kids are doing what the three of us would love to do, because I would love to be. Well, Christina and I were in a Star Wars adventure together.
We were. It was amazing.
And it's amazing, and
yes.
They did it, right, Christina? And
it was so good. So good. There's not enough words for the Halcyon. It's just amazing.
Right. Yeah, you're living Star Wars.
Yeah.
But then I also think it's that contrast with all these other shows, of Andor, Acolyte, some of these struggles, and even, Tales of the Empire and that animated stuff. But I think it might be both of those things, what you're mentioning, Aaron, what Christina said, and just having a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Well said. So, with that, unless there's something else that we haven't talked about that you want to hit on, I'd say we'll go ahead and move into final reactions. Anything else, though, before we do?
Do you, Christina? I don't have anything else.
No, I'm happy to move on to final thoughts.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's go ahead and jump into final reactions. Since I missed it last week, I'll do my final reactions first.
All right.
So, I if you can't tell, we love this show, and I really love this series. I love this episode. This was just so much fun. It's so refreshing, and I love the fact that we're getting Star Wars. We're getting it a show, and it's literally our stars, our kids. Literally, the show is being carried by 4 child actors. And I love that. And it has made it so much more fun, especially being a dad. I can see some of my kids in these kids, and I can see some of myself in these kids. Episode 1, we have Wim playing with 2 figures, doing lightsaber battles.
Do you know the number one thing that surprises engaged couples? Take a guess. The sheer amount of decisions they have to make while planning a wedding. Indoors or outdoors? How many guests? Are kids invited? Controversial. Which cake flavor? Seriously, how do you even begin to figure out what's right for you? That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to make every wedding decision a piece of cake, from choosing your dream wedding venue and vendors to deciding how to best spend your budget. With tons of customizable wedding websites, save the dates, and invites, every detail will feel like you. Zola will even help you choose the gifts, experiences, and cash funds you really want. The next thing you know, you've planned your whole wedding all in one place. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I still do that. I do. I'll admit it. But it is just so refreshing to have a series and like this that connects not only with me as a father, but me as a Star Wars fan and me as a kid growing up. And because I can relate to the story. They're living out my dream. Though the characters may not see it like that, I do. And it's just been fantastic. Neel is just, I'm loving this character more and more each day. SM33 is, quickly climbing my ladder of favorite droids. He ain't going to get anywhere near Chopper, but he's moving up the ladder. And he's absolutely fantastic. Nick Frost is doing an incredible job as SM33s, but I have loved it. It has been great, and it just keeps me wanting more. And I can't wait till we get our next episode. So, David, how about you, brother?
Yeah, I was thinking about, again, something else Christina and I covered last week is these mysteries. And so like when you were, just kind of helping wrap it up there, like what happens up in that tower, more mysteries, but again, not to the point where I'm overwhelmed and I can't keep track of everything. But for me, when you saw the coordinates to At Attin, scraped off of that column, that pillar, one of the things that I'm curious about now is who was this previous captain? Is it going to be somebody we know? Is it going to be like on the ship when the three of us, the kids first get on there and we see the person who has the knife stuck through their chest, or was that the captain who did that to the crew members, right? Killed all the crew who maybe saw the coordinates and so on. And is it, who is it? Is the person dead? Are they alive? I'm very curious about this. Who was that captain and wanted all of this to be kept a secret? And the other thing I would say, here at the halfway point, that a final reaction for me is the question. I'm like, and I thought about this as I was driving home, and I'm looking forward to recording with you guys tonight. I was thinking to myself, well, is the treasure are they going to reveal this? Like, because, Jod is, asking Smee, any recollection of treasure, anywhere? And all about the treasure. Are they going to ultimately have it be the treasure is, all the people of At Attin, or is there going to really be like a real treasure there? So I'm curious to see how they play that out. So just some of my thoughts and final reactions.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And of course, saving the best for last. Christina, what are your final reactions to Can't Say I Remember No At Attin?
I loved it. Actually, all of my final thoughts are the things you've both already said so well. But again, just sort of reiterating what David was talking about just now. It's those mysteries that we have, and just to add one further mystery on top of the things that David had mentioned, because they were already all in my list too. It is, I remember in the last episode, Kim had said, I think that there were 9 jewels of the Old Republic. And so now we've heard about, 6 of them by name. So that means there's potentially another 3 other worlds that we haven't really mentioned yet. And, what's happening with them. And again, yes, are we going to get to go to some of these other at-worlds to see what's going on there? So I think that will help to answer some of the mysteries and answer some of the questions. And for me, the big thing that I thought was very similar to what David was saying is, who is the old captain? Is the old captain still alive? And are those skeletons on the ship the old crew members that he's, slaughtered to hide At Attin from them?
Well,
I'm just looking forward to every episode, and I think that's the sign of a good show. Like when I think, David, you were saying with the Acolyte you hadn't sort of watched it again, so I've watched this episode twice just because that's all I've had time for, and I would have watched it again if I had have had time to, because I am just thoroughly enjoying it. I really enjoy watching it. I only watched the Acolyte episodes once, and I didn't even watch them when they came out. I've spoken to you guys before about how it wasn't really my favorite of the shows that Disney Plus has brought out for Star Wars. And I certainly haven't really felt the need to watch it again. Whereas this show, I'm really looking forward every week to the episode. At the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, damn, now I have to wait another week, And I think that's really good because it brings back, we're in this world of streaming and they binge watching and they dump all of the episodes or half a season all at once. And I'm really loving the serialized nature of this storytelling where we're waiting every week to get to the next part and we're all doing it together and we're all talking about it. And I think it just builds the excitement and builds the enjoyment for each and every episode. episode. So I'm really enjoying the journey that we're taking together with these kids.
Well said indeed. So, well, with that wraps things up. And of course, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Can't say I remember no At Attin, and whether I should keep talking like that. Plus, of course, let us know what you think about Skeleton Crew altogether. What are your thoughts and feelings on it so far? As the series goes, you can do that many ways. You can hit us up on any of our social media accounts, of course, Facebook and X at SW Reactions Pod. Then, of course, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Pinterest, Tumblr, Blue Sky, YouTube, all at SW Reactions. Hit us up, let us know. You can always email us swreactions@gmail.com, or feel free to leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. We would love to hear from you. So, of course, David, if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Best place would be Twitter X. I am at David_Modders, MODDERS, and any of the socials for Star Wars Reactions. And Aaron has gotten them over to me, and he'll still do it. He's all over that. So those are some spots. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And of course, I know from previous weeks, and previous visits, of course, if you do want to talk Star Wars with Christina, you can always hit us up and we will get her the messages. But any, I was about to say any last words, but that just sounds very morbid. Anything else you would like to say, Christina, before we bring you to the end of our episode this week?
No, just thanks very much for having me on again. It's always so enjoyable for me to catch up with you guys and chat Star Wars with you guys. I really love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're, of course, welcome anytime. We loved having you. But, of course, I can't let you go, and we can't end this episode of Star Wars Reactions without celebrating the Star Wars Dad Joke of the Week. And being that we just had the anniversary of Rogue One, this Dad Joke of the Week fits perfectly. So the question is, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So much enthusiasm. I love it.
With trepidation.
Christine and I are scared. We're Neel.
Exactly. My trunk's trembling.
That's right.
Here we go then. In honor of the anniversary of Rogue One, how did Director Krennic discover and recruit Galen Erso to finish the Death Star?
I don't know. How did he?
He was outstanding in his field.
Oh my.
Get it? He was outstanding in his field.
Yes, I get it.
Oh my God.
That is terrible.
What Christina said is terrible. which Aaron loves, Christina.
I know.
Well, the worse they are, the better they are.
That's so bad it's kind of good. Wow.
Oh no.
Help me. All right. Well, David, my friend, this has been a blast as always.
Absolutely. Had a great time and just so thankful we had Christina. Thank you, Christina, for being on these last two. It's such a blast talking with you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for listening in and joining us again for another episode of Star Wars Reactions. We thank you so much for joining us. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all, wishing y'all the best as you go through the holiday season and the rest of 2024. Remember, it's the holiday season. Just keep doing kind stuff, man. It's the time of it should be done every week, but this is the time of year where kindness should just flow. So let it flow. Change the holidays for somebody. Make them merry and bright. And remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.